My half-sister planned to wear a wedding dress to my engagement party, so I changed the theme to make her outfit blend in. My half-sister Heather and I never really got along. We both are 24. My father left my mother for her mother, and we were born the same month 20 days apart. It has always been weird. It doesn't help that Heather's mom hates me and my mom. By extension, Heather and I didn't have the best relationship. She has always tried to one-up me. Even we both have a similar economic background. I can give examples of this, but for the sake of the world limit won't write them here. So now my fiancé and I got engaged last month and had our engagement party this Saturday. We had planned it originally as a casual formal event. Nice dresses, but not I am going to the Met Gala ball nice. More like we are going to a good restaurant nice. Anyway, my cousin hits me up saying she has to show me something. It was the picture of the dress Heather was going to wear. Edit. This dress. Jesus Christ. It can only be described as opulent. It was long and white. Strapless with sewn in crystals and golden accents. I'm pretty sure it's a wedding dress, but I can't be 100%. This made me really mad. So I decided. Fuck that. I started texting people telling them that there had been a change of plans. And that instead of casual formal, I decided to make a costume party. My mother's side is crazy for Halloween, so they were immediately on board. I told my father via text, and asked for him to relay the message to Heather, her mother, knowing full well that he would forget, or leave it to the last minute. Saturday comes along. Guests start showing up. Most of them in costumes. Some didn't have time to get one. We just provided them with fun hats and cheap wigs. Heather, my dad, and her mother come like 1 hour late. As soon as she notices that everyone was either wearing elaborate costumes or weird accessories, and she didn't stand out, she lost it. Especially when my fiancé came along and told her that her bride dress looked amazing for a cheap costume. She left crying, and her mother and my father told me that I was being childish and I could have told Heather myself and not have tasked my father. For those interested, my fiancé was dressed as Bubbles and I was dressed as Mojo Jojo. My mom and aunts went as ABBA. Other memorable costumes were Luffy and Zorro, Ian Malcolm and John Hammond and Jesus. Edit. So why did I invite her? It's one of those weird family situations where not inviting them would have been more dramatic. You know when you try pleasing everyone. Plus I still wanted a relationship with my father, so not inviting Heather and her mom would have made things super difficult, and made it so my father would have had to choose. When I kept thinking of it, I noticed that my father wouldn't have chosen me on this scenario. Which is why I ended up cutting them off. You let her win. No. The point of this is to ruin my half-sister's intention. She wasn't just dressed nicely as some of you put it. She wore a wedding dress to my engagement party. I'd much rather subvert this whole mess rather than have her smugly sitting at the table with her wedding dress. Also, some of you are really hung up on the cheap wigs part, and ignore literally everything else regarding the party. A minority of our guests wore those cheap wigs. Also, it literally doesn't matter. We had a blast. After she left, I didn't even think of her again till a few days later. I don't regret the costume party. I wish I thought of it earlier, TBH. Also, I can't believe I have to say this, but the lady on the picture is not Heather. It's also not the dress she wore. I looked for a picture that looked approximately like the dress. Comments. Comment 1. A cease and desist for disruptive behavior killed me. Haha. Stop ignoring us and apologize to us. We sent you a letter from Google. You have to do what the fake letter says, or we'll take you to court. Oh, to be the law office that gets that phone call. I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am, but there's no equivalent or opposite of a restraining order to force an adult to talk to another adult unless it's court-mandated therapy. I'm definitely not a lawyer, but I'm having a lot of fun letting this play out in my head over my morning tea as my toddlers are hanging off of me. Comment 2. I had to completely cut out a parent, and the number one way I knew I'd done the right thing was that I just did not miss them whatsoever. I'm glad Oop did what she needed to do to protect her own happiness, and it sounds like her husband is supportive and awesome. Update 1. I had planned countless times to update this post. I even asked the mods if it was allowed. But I was too lazy and always stopped halfway. LOL. Anyway. I keep seeing my post as in miffing TikTok. I also saw an account that pretended to have an update. Apparently my husband cheated with my half-sister, my mother exploded, and my grandma is a dog. Update 2. I got married. It was an eventful and thankfully drama-free day. My father was not in attendance. After my engagement party, I realized that he would never choose me willingly. Even if he loves me, he doesn't love me enough to stand up for me. He constantly allows his wife and daughter to walk over me, and even become abusive. So I wrote him a lengthy email from my old school days email account. It detailed my resentful feelings against him and uninvited him from the wedding. Then I logged out. 'Cause I know myself. I would be upset with his answer, and if he wouldn't not answer, I would also be upset. I also blocked him and his family from all access. And I went cold turkey. Freezing even. I changed phone providers and deleted my social media accounts for a while. He did try to contact me, my mother. She said it was just upsetting. So I told her I did not want to know. So I just cut him off. And boy, my life improved drastically. We had an amazing wedding. Unhinged things that happened after the wedding. I got a cease and desist letter from my half-sister. It was very vague and weird. But we quickly found out that it was only a Google copy pasta. My stepmother followed me to the supermarket and tried to intimidate me, to apologize to Heather. She made the produce wildly uncomfortable. My father tried to pick me up at work. He was walking next to me, while I went to my car. He was trying to get me to apologize to Heather and her mom. He said that I should be the bigger person, and that I know how both of them are. So I just told him that he must be mistaken. Because my father is dead. He just stood there as I drove off. Then they started to bother the rest of the extended family. Heather and her mom apparently wanted them to cut me off finally, which backfired spectacularly. Because now they are cut off. Which also means that they are excluded from a lot of family events that they weren't looking forward to, plus they can't use my uncle's cabin. So Heather's mom had allegedly been at her sister's since the whole breakdown. I have to be honest. I don't know how much of this is true. As you know, the toxic gossip train always has to be taken with a grain of salt. IDK. But I think it's funny. A sad thing is that I don't even miss my father. His absence has made zero negative effect on my life. We did have one more costume party around Halloween. But this time we gave everyone more time and it was even more fun. My mom's side of the family all pitched in. We got a venue and invited a bunch of people. I recommend this totally. I met so many of my cousin's friends who I have kept in touch with. Nothing else has changed. I still have my old job. I am not pregnant. We have the same old apartment. We did redecorate though. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for not feeling hurt or upset about being uninvited to my older brother's wedding? This whole thing is so weird. I, 27 male, am gay. I came out at 16 and my parents told me they would always love me, but to not mention it to my older brother, who I'll call Brick, then 19 male, 30 male now. When I was confused and asked why, they said that Brick had expressed some awful opinions about gay people. I limited talking to Brick until I moved out at 18, which wasn't much of a problem because we were never close. I went to uni, got good job and an awesome boyfriend, 28 male, in my home city. Me and my boyfriend Angel live a peaceful life. Peaceful until a few days ago when I got a call from my brother. I was concerned that Brick was calling me. As we have never messaged before, just had each other's numbers for emergency purposes. I picked up because maybe there was some emergency happening. He opened the call with an annoyed "Hey man," and I knew something was up. He said he was getting married to his fiancée and 24 female next year. I didn't even know he had a girlfriend. I was like, that's great, Brick, and asked some boring wedding things that he begrudgingly answered. He then told me invites were being sent out in a couple weeks, and then I could bring a +1. Here's where I made the mistake that started this mess. Without thinking like an idiot, I said, cool, I'll bring my boyfriend Major. Mess up. Brick immediately started yelling insults down the line, screaming that he wouldn't have an F slur at his wedding. I didn't say anything and just hung up. I was rattled by hearing those words from my own brother's mouth, even though I knew his feelings about people like me. I told Angel. And he comforted me, ordering in my favorite restaurant and watching movies with me, which was awesome. We went to bed later and I felt alright the next day. I sent my parents a message that Brick invited me and uninvited me from his wedding pretty much in the same breath. And went on my way to work, not a clue of the crap storm waiting for me when I got off. When I turned my phone on again after my shift, it was blowing up. Messages and calls from my parents and relatives galore asking me what the F happened. I phoned my parents back when I got home and gave them the rundown of what happened, and said I honestly didn't care, because it's not like Brick would be coming to my wedding anyways. My parents immediately chastised me for my obvious disinterest and disregard of my brother's life, and told me I should be apologizing to him for bringing my personal life into his wedding. What? I basically told my parents to screw off and have been getting bombarded with messages from relatives to apologize to my brother and get my invite reinstated, and apologize to my parents for disrespecting them, but I really don't want to. Angel's reassuring me that I did nothing wrong, but it's still nagging me. AITA? Comments. Comment 1. Why did your brother sound annoyed at the beginning of the call? Did he already know? Or was he being forced to invite you by your parents? Seems weird. He's never been my biggest fan, honestly. We were very different as kids, like polar opposites, and he didn't like that, very on brand for him. He definitely didn't know I was gay before the call. My parents have kept it very under wraps for years. In terms if he was being forced to invite me by my parents, I really have zero clue. Comment 2. I will never understand people like this ... unless Op was pursing them. His sexual orientation has nothing to do with their lives and such. My son the other day messaged me he is gay. Don't know if he was serious or testing waters or just being a jerk. I told him, that's cool by me. He is still gonna do the dishes. He wasn't impressed by my reaction, but he also knows I don't care about his sexuality, as long as his partner's a decent person. And he is a decent person to his partner too. I want my kid's happiness. Granted, I'm not perfect by no means, but whether my kid is a gay or not is solely their business, and I won't butt in. Unless necessary, such as to defend them, or if they need my support. Update. My post got locked removed per some misunderstanding confusion with the AITA mods while trying to post this update. But I'll just post it on my page here without an R if anyone wants to see it. Why all have really opened my eyes on a lot of issues in my family. I apologize for only replying to a few comments. There's just so many of you. Big shout out to all the people who gave compliments to Angel. I showed him this post last night and he thanks you all. I've been showing him lots of love because he really is an angel. And to the people calling this fake AI cliche and whatnot, I hate to break it to you all, but this is just my life. It sounds cliche because this is the sort of all too real thing that happens to many people in the community. Just move along if you want to say that stuff. Because you're honestly just wasting your time. One of two things I would also like to address is people questioning me about thinking I could possibly be the I in this situation. And all I can say is that when you have a mass of people telling you you're wrong for what you did, it's hard to not maybe believe them just a little bit. No matter how absurd it is. Second thing, for people wondering how no one in the family knew I was gay, I really was never not close with my extended family, as they all live in different provinces, and my immediate family never traveled. We really just send each other holiday and birthday messages, and have brief conversations whenever those are sent, and I just never had the urge to come out to them. Anyways, on to the update. I decided I didn't want to let this sit for any longer. I took a day off work, and I added my parents, Brick, and all the family that messaged called me into one big group chat, per one advice I saw here. I laid out everything that went down to them, in case they were told a different story by my parents and brother. I told them that I was going NC with my parents and Brick no matter what, and if they didn't apologize and realize what they did wrong, or I cut them off too. I turned my phone off and continued on without it for the rest of the day. Once I turned my phone on again, I had lots of messages from them. My parents were outraged, and Brick said nothing. Some of my extended family apologized and told me that my parents just told them I was mean to Brick about some of his wedding plan choices, which got me uninvited. Still trying to wrap my head around how stupid that is. Seriously think my parents might be Neanderthals. Anyways, the real story made others even more angry and more insistent that I apologize, and they were promptly blocked. I didn't answer any of my parents' text calls and blocked. I feel like I have a weight off my shoulders. I'm not concerned about my parents showing up at our apartment, as they moved away from my city last year. Me and Angel are planning a lovely trip per advice of a lot of people that we thought was great to France to visit his family during when the wedding will be taking place, which I'm very excited for. I've heard nothing but good things about them. This will most likely be my only update on this post, and I thank you all for your support.